lecturers, there's a number of us here, we don't really talk, we'll answer questions afterwards, but we let our graduates do the talking about the different courses we have. So tonight it's the direct entry engineering courses that we're looking at. And we've got the list in there. So they're aeronautical engineering, we've got technology management, we've construction management and engineering. There's chemical engineering and then also electronic and computer engineering. So we have a graduate from each of those. Each will give a talk of about maybe kind of 7 to 8 minutes. And what we'll do is we'll leave the questions to the end. So if we work like that, it probably works best. So I think our first graduate is from technology management. It's Emer. So Emer Mooney, I think you're down as Rooney. So, yeah. So I'm going to ask Emer to give her presentation. And
sorry, no.
Messing with the system.
Yeah.
Presentations there. So. Great. Thanks, Emer.
Yeah, no bother. Perfect. Hello, everybody. Thank you all for coming here today. My name is Emer Mooney, and I studied technology management. I would have graduated in 2020. I've been working in Dell now for the last 2.5 years. And I would have sat where you guys were about 7 years ago. I know it can be very daunting when you're looking for all the different modules and not quite knowing where to go, but hopefully by the end of the day you might be more familiar. So why did I choose UL? Well, just being honest, it was the sports facilities originally for me. I'd be very involved in gymnastics and I wanted to be so close to the gym or be able to drive home for Camogie back to Clare. And I was very excited when I first heard about the course, how it was so split between engineering and business. And the latest modern lab equipment it's just phenomenal being able to have access to equipment that great. So why technology management? When I first was looking at it, me personally in school, I would have struggled to learn off material and give it straight back. I knew I would always have to work for a course no matter where I went to. And I was kind of looking towards courses that had a high employability rate without needing to do a master's at the end of it. And this course, I was looking for the employability rate, and without needing a master's, it was quite high, speaking with Alan Ryan, the course director. Also, the modules that you would be covering were so varied between having the business side and the engineering. If you were struggling in one side, you went found the other side interesting. It was always bouncing back and forth. And yeah, the end goal of securing a job is what I really wanted. As in, me personally, I'd be more into dance and acting and drama, but at the end of the day, I knew I needed a job, and this is why I took this course. And I did like it, don't get me wrong. So how I found the course, it is very split between business and engineering. I would have done business myself when I was in school. You don't really need to be able to have done business previously, as in a lot of the boys in my course had never done any business, so the modules might have been like economics or marketing or accounting, and they're very rote learning, as in HR. You can sit down, they'll tell you the information and you give it straight back. It's easy enough. Then the engineering side is where I might have struggled with. They would have given subjects like manufacturing, but you didn't need to be able to have done anything like that before. I remember sitting down with my career guidance teacher when I was in Leaving Cert and presenting this course to her, and she was like, but Emer, you've never done physics or engineering or woodwork or tech or anything. But then I arranged a meeting with the course director, Alan Ryan, and he assured me that if you do put the work in, they will show it to you from beginning to end. So if you are apprehensive thinking, oh wow, I've never done manufacturing, believe me, I went into a lab and I didn't even know how to measure correctly, as in people were going up to lathe machines and turn them on. I felt overwhelmed, but the technicians in there are so nice and so understanding. Like if you make yourself known at the very beginning, like I've never done this before, and ask questions and show up. That's the one thing I have to say is if you show up and show you're interested, they have absolutely no problem helping you. It's more if you show up in week 9 and 10 freaking out, they're going to tell you to go away, like as in you need to be there from week 1. The Maths Learning Centre, I know there's a lot of maths at the beginning, and maybe like in first and second year. Me personally, I would have struggled with maths when I was in school. I did do the honours paper, but it was a struggle to get that pass mark. I know you guys, it's down to 30% to get past, so who was 40 when I was back then. But yeah, if you are struggling with maths, don't be worrying. There is a maths learning centre. I think there is English ones as well, but they didn't really apply for our course. And like that again, if you turn up, you're sitting there trying to go through your homework and your assignments with them, they will help you, but it's not a place you can just turn up and be like, oh, answer this question here for me. You have to keep showing that you are interested. And working together is vital. Yeah, I can't emphasize, as in, I would not have got through this course if I didn't work with my friends. I went in day one and found just a really good group, about 5, 6, 7 of us, and we stuck. I was still really, really close now, but some of the lads might have been very good at CAD, or I might have been more towards the skill set of the business elements, and others might have been with the engineering. They might have done coding with their fathers before, or wiring. It's basically, I suppose any college course, when you first go in, get a really good group set of friends and stick together and use each other, even for group projects or individual assignments. Go to the library, take the time. Yeah, that is probably the one thing I would say take away from this, is get a good set of friends and use each other. Projects I completed. So there was many projects while you're doing this course, as in I really enjoyed it, as in you might be sitting in economics lecture and your brain might be going to absolute mush, and then you're getting up and you're going into a lab where you're allowed to use your hands and actually build, and that just really worked for me. My favourite module I would have had to say was innovation and technology. So your assignment brief was take a product that's already out there and make it better. So I was very involved in gymnastics, and I created a gymnastics team that had, you could train on one side and you could turn it around, you compete on the other, so it would save time pulling mats in and out. But the mechanics of it, and thinking of the idea and how you go about the design process, and then right through to manufacturing, and then bringing it into the gym. Now, obviously, it wasn't standard approved to be able to at all use it, but it was nice to be able to think that you could create a product. There was a lot of other projects, as in we would have done, I forget the name of the module, but we would have done reverse engineering. So we would have taken a toaster and seen how it was and taken it apart and then put it back together again. As in, this course is very, if you want to be able to use your brain and your hands, it's really interesting. There's never a dull day. I would have struggled a lot with the drawing and CAD. Now I know my younger brother does design manufacturing, and he is flying it because he would have done it in Leaving Cert. So, but again, do not fret if drawing CAD isn't something for you. If you turn up every single day, and I know I personally went to double the amount of tutorials because I was so overwhelmed and didn't really understand. So again, if you stick with it, ask the lecturers or the teaching assistants, they're really helpful as well. The lean thinking and lean tools, that's like, you can get the green belt if you do it. I think in year 3, you won't really see the point of it at the time, but by the end you understand how great it is. And I then was able to bring that green belt forward to my co-op. So the basic green belt, if you're not sure what it is, I wouldn't have known when I was your age, is a piece of paper that basically allows you to go into a company and make things run more efficiently. So you might remove the waste, whether it's time or manpower or the effort or the waste, because you're making things run more smoothly. And I didn't fully understand it while I was in college, and then I spent the next 8 months on my co-op. I was in Cook Medical, and I was able to bring it to full effect down on the assembly lines, making desks tidier and switching maybe workshop A with B, and so all around a lot more smoothly. And that brings me on to then my FYP. I know again that's 4 years away for you guys, but even if you don't choose this course, I would still say while you're on your co-op, be constantly thinking of what you might be able to do for your final year project. As I had a really great relationship with my manager, and I was constantly yo-yoing back and forth from the library into Cook, seeing how the project was going, or if I'd forgotten bits, or to take this picture. So while you're on your 8 months, although you can't start your FYP, you can definitely be thinking of ideas or titles that you want to be able to use. Yeah, so that's my advice I'd give for that. So yeah, life after graduating. I've now been working in Dell for 2.5 years. I would have sat my interview October before any final year exams and was promised the job just as long as I finished my exams. So it was a great release, and I get quite stressed for exams. So it was lovely being able to know that I could just show up and do my best, and it didn't actually matter. And in the end, I was a lot more calmer, I was able to do a lot better. My current role at the minute is managing all projects and logistics across Europe. So my team is based in Texas. I work in the global team, so there's nobody else in Limerick. So a lot of my projects would be with Eastern Europe and Australia and China. I love it. It suits me down to the ground. I did enjoy it, but it was a struggle. But this is work that I get to come in every day and chat to people and organise, and it just suits me. And yeah, I love my work, and you guys should definitely do this course. Thank you.
Our construction management and engineering program.
Yeah,
So,
try my best. Okay, good evening, everyone. You're all very welcome here to the university. Sorry. My name is Noel Clark, and I'm a past graduate of BSc in Construction Management and Engineering here in the University of Limerick. It's a level 9 honours degree. I graduated in 2020. So a little bit about myself just before I go on to talk about the course. I started in the construction industry as a young person. I originally trained and qualified in a trade background. From there, I went into, after getting a lot of experience, built myself up into site management, project management roles. I've had roles within quantity surveying departments, and I even ended up managing a small construction business for a while. While the industry was brilliant and all, I always had a draw towards education. So after many years of labouring about it and thinking about it, in 2016, I came down here for an interview with two of the lecturers who sold me the course during the interview. So that's a little bit of my background, how I ended up in construction management and engineering here at the university. So my take on why you should study at the University of Limerick. The first reason and most important reason from my perspective here at the university are the lecturers. Now, I can only speak from personal experience, but the lecturers in LMO2, Construction Management and Engineering, were inspirational to me during my 4 years here. The vast majority of the lecturers on the programme come from industry. So they write the modules, design the modules with industry in mind. So the key takeaway from that is that the modules that you learn and partake in on this course are all beneficial to industry. Additionally, the lecturers are very friendly, very approachable, and that still continues to this day. I'm currently doing a PhD here under the course director, Dr. John Spillane. He was one of the inspirational figures that brought me not only from undergraduate, but further on to PhD doctoral level. Number two then, the facilities here within the university. So facilities not only in the buildings and the infrastructure, all the lab resources here, and additionally then, what was it? I've lost my train of thought. Yes, the facilities, so such as the Maths Learning Centre, the Science Learning Centre, and also the Academic Writing Centre. And so if anyone's struggling here or who has any thoughts or fears about returning to college, I'd like to affirm that you should have no fears at all. If I can return back to education as a mature student, anyone can do it. And the facilities such as the extracurricular learning facilities, etc., within the college are all brilliant. Another key takeaway from why you should study at UL here, friendships that you will develop here as a student, they will last for your entire lifetime. From my perspective, again, I was one of the oldest, well, I was the oldest in the class by quite a long way, but I have made several members of not only the course I was doing, but courses in civil engineering and the engineering department in general that will last a lifetime. UL's links with industry then through Cooperative Education. You get a 9-month placement on, I can only speak for this degree, but I think it's on most degrees, Ronan, isn't it? That you get a 9-month placement, and UL have numerous companies that they've developed long relationships with. Clubs and societies, it's not all work here at the university. You have to go off and enjoy yourself. So GAA, handball, rowing, swimming, etc., etc. There's clubs and societies to suit everyone. And then, perhaps maybe this is in the wrong order, social life. Social life is very important. You have to work hard when you're at college, but you also have to enjoy life as well, blow off a bit of steam. So that's why, from my perspective, I would choose UL to study. So moving on then to course structure and content. It's a level 9 or level 8 honours degree, sorry. It's a 4-year degree program. So the subject areas that are studied are within the construction elements. So you have construction technology 1, 2, and 3, give you the basics of how buildings are put together, site setup, etc., etc. You also have engineering subjects. They're predominantly within first and second year in the course. So you have technical maths 1 and 2, you have physics, you have engineering materials, you have elements like structural mechanics, and etc., how buildings are put together and all the theory behind that. There's also management, a management element to it, as the name suggests, construction management. And I think that's very important within this course. You study a lot of modules on economics, the principles of management, etc., etc. Whilst they're construction based, they are very relatable to other industries. So the degree is very appropriate in that way. If you're not sure about going into construction, finish the degree and you still have all the management expertise and theory if you want to change your career, etc., etc. There's also elements of law then. We have procurement and contracting 1 and 2, where contractual documents within the construction industry, different contract types, and you're given case studies then to study of where things went wrong in the construction industry and how law is applied to them. You also have quantity surveying modules. So you have elements or modules like building surveying and estimating and costing, which ground you in how quantity surveyors and then estimators build up prices for tendering in the construction industry. Moving on then, I've briefly mentioned work placement co-op. You get that in spring term, this term, starting in January right up through to September, a 9-month work placement. UL can facilitate that through the co-op office, or you can also additionally, if you have a company in mind in support with UL, you can find your own co-op. So in relation to co-op, that's not only limited to within the Irish, the country of Ireland here. You can go to England, you can go to UK, you can go abroad, anywhere you want in the world. So that's a great experience, and it gives you an opportunity to put your theory into practice. You see how things operate in site, or if you're in a consultancy office or a quantity surveying office, you get to see how theory and industry marry. And then the program is also CAB accredited. So what is CAB? So it's the Chartered Association of Building Engineers, and they support all the modules in the course. So it's a good accreditation for the course. So what career opportunities are afforded then through LMOA2, Construction Management Engineer? Well, there's several opportunities available to graduates. Firstly and foremostly, the program is aimed at project management. So it's primarily aimed at construction project management, whether that be site management out on site or project management from the client's perspective, where a client comes to a consultancy, wants to develop a client brief, send the program out for tendering, etc., etc. There's also an engineering element that's mainly in first and second year, slightly touch on it in third year, where you can go into structural engineering, where what we mean by structural engineering is where you'll be working in the design office, You'll be putting buildings together, determining design loads, etc., etc. Civil engineering, so if you think of all the roads and the bridges in the country, you'll be out making sure the work is done to the correct quality, assigning drawings, signing off on them, etc., etc. You could have a site layout engineer, where the engineers are out looking through their theodolites, setting out buildings to coordinates, etc., etc. There's also an opportunity afforded for quantity surveying. So within the quantity surveying offices, with a contractor or on the client's perspective, so that would involve keeping jobs on cost, contract management, etc., etc. There's also within a quantity surveying department what's known as estimators, where tenders come in to the contractors, they have to build up prices. So there's lots of different opportunities within the course. So within the course then, you can work with either consultancies, private consultancies who look after clients. So a client comes to a consultancy as a project that they want managed, or you can work on the contractor side where the contractor builds the project for the client. So there's opportunities on both sides of the divide there as well. And then again, you're not only limited to Ireland, but the course is recognised and you can travel the entire world, and this job will, this course will get you into jobs anywhere within the construction or consultancy industry. Then you could go down the road like myself, although it wasn't planned. You could go on to further education, so an MSc, a Masters in Science, or an MEng, a Masters in Engineering, say a Masters in Civil Engineering, etc., etc. Or, as I alluded to earlier, the course is very broad with respect to management, so you could go in for a Masters in Business Administration, etc., etc. And then, in my instance, I went down the road of the PhD or a Doctor of Philosophy in Construction Management. So the career opportunities are broad, they're numerous, and the course, it's also very broad and covers a lot of modules, but gives a high-level overview of what's needed to operate well within the construction industry. So that's the presentation complete, and I'd like to thank you all there for listening this evening.
I had a call on Patrick O'Connor, give his talk about aeronautical engineering. So Patrick's a relatively recent graduate. So.
Hello everyone, my name is Patrick O'Connor. I finished up in May with my Masters in Aeronautical Engineering, and I'm working now for a company called Shannon Engine Support as a project engineer. So I'll outline some of the main reasons why you should study engineering at UL and why I chose to do so. Firstly, I was always fascinated by airplanes, so I was drawn to the industry. And I always liked finding out how things work and understanding, different machinery. So I thought aeronautical engineering would be my preferred course. Also, there's brilliant facilities available at UL that make it a great place for studying engineering. You've got the new library. You've also got wind tunnels. Brilliant lab equipment and engineering software that you'd have an industry that aeronautical students have access to. UL's campus is brilliant as well, and it's always a great atmosphere. As you can see around the place, there's great facilities, brilliant buildings, and there's always something going on as well for students. One other thing that I hadn't realised about UL is the amount of clubs and societies that are in it. It's well worth looking into them. I made great friends and had brilliant experiences through the kayaking club and mountain biking club and the skydiving club. And all these clubs in UL do international trips every year and national trips, and they're subsidised, and there's a great budget through the university to help students to have these experiences. Students at UL as well also get very good industry placement. So in engineering, you do 8 months placement. So you can either do it nationally or abroad, and this is just some companies that you'll have the option to go to. The university also has the flexibility to go off and do your masters. You make the choice in around 3rd year of whether you want to do the integrated masters for aeronautical engineering or just finish with your bachelor's. So it's very handy. You can make the choice of whether you want to go abroad and continue your studies there, go straight into industry, or do the integrated masters in UL. So just to take a look at what subjects are covered first year, and basically you're doing the fundamentals of engineering, so you're looking at maths and physics and mechanics. You also get to do a lot of group projects, so you do the egg drop test, so you drop an egg from a couple of stories and see if you can get it to not break. So what else do you do? You make a little car like this that will carry a bottle of water up an incline. So that's a good group project as well. There's even awards sponsored by outside companies like Modular Automation, so it's great industry exposure as well. From a very early on in college, you do presentation work and stuff as well. So in 2nd year then you'll move on and you do more study on aerodynamics and on flight. There's wind tunnel work and group design projects, and you use software like XFLR5 and SolidWorks for CFD and for CAD. So after that then, at the end of 2nd year and through 3rd year, you'll be doing your placement. That lasts from May to January, around those times anyway. I did my placement in Airbus in Hamburg. It's a really valuable part of the course. I worked in the cabin compartment ventilation team and was on testing for the A320neo and the A320XLR. It's great exposure to the workplace, great to get involved in an office and know what it's like after graduation. I got to do work on test rigs, run data analysis, make presentations to the office, and participate in ground tests for new planes. And just every day outside the window, you're watching, interesting planes and demonstrators and early MSNs doing test flights. So it's really great to get the experience. I also did 2 weeks with the A380 delivery center where they were testing new planes and debugging them. So they were doing flight testing, and then they bring the planes back, and we got to run around and check all the little faults and errors that they were getting to make sure the plane was ready for the customer. So other than that then, for the remainder of the course, you'll be doing more studies in aeronautical engineering. You'll do CFD, CAD, FEA, and flight mechanics and composites. There's some great opportunities. You get to do the Cranfield Flight Lab, so they'll take you up in this plane. You'll be doing stalls, and then you'll analyze the test data afterwards. You'll do lots of different maneuvers that you'll have studied in during your course, and you'll basically be able to see them in real life and feel how it feels in an actual airplane. You also get to do you can do the flight simulator as well that the college has installed there, so they're great experiences really. So around this time as well, you'll pick whether you're doing the masters or whether you're finishing with the bachelors. For your final year project, then there is a lot of different titles provided every year. You could look at renewable energies or Formula One racing. You could look at carbon fiber manufacturing or aircraft control systems. My project was to test a small scale prototype of a collapsible manual for use with the type of industrial robot that you see here. And this is actually what the university has 2 of these installed, and engineering students have some access to them as well. So the idea of this was to help with the development of these offshore wind turbines. And basically this is how my project turned out, and it was a good success thanks to everything I studied in college. So having finished studying in UL in May, I felt that I was ready to go into industry. So I took a job and started in June with Shannon Engine Support. So I'm working there as the model leader for the CFM 56 5B engine. So that's the engine that powers the A320ceo. So we're the world's largest lessor of CFM engines, and I'm the model leader for this particular type. So I manage nearly 100 engines, and they get sent to airlines all around the world to help with maintenance issues and to support their expansion and other programs. So I just make sure that all the paperwork and documentation is right with the engines and that they're in good condition for the next operator. And I like the job as well. I get to travel a little bit. I get to meet with operators and help them with their issues. So other options after graduation, you can go into any companies. You're very employable having done an aeronautical engineering degree across all disciplines of engineering. But UL's course is particularly valuable if you want to enter into industry immediately after. Other options are to do further study. So there's great PhD opportunities offered within the university and elsewhere. And the third option is to do a graduate program, and in that you work for a company while they're giving you, training. So you'll be moving around to different departments within the company. They give you training for a year or two, and then after that you finish your graduate program with an extra qualification. So thank you.
So our next speaker is Jack O'Callaghan. So he's going to talk about chemical and biochemical engineering. So
I'll try my best to keep this short and sweet. My name is Jack O'Callaghan. I'm a third-year biological engineering PhD candidate here at the University of Limerick. I'm a 2020 graduate of LM115, Bachelor's of Engineering in Chemical and Biochemical Engineering. I'll only touch on it briefly because I think it's been well discussed by everyone else in their other presentations. In my third year, I did an 8-month internship with Regeneron. I was in the upstream process science investigations team at their IAPS facility in Raheen. And that played a very, very big role in what I'm currently doing, which is my PhD in biological engineering. I went into placement and I left with a very, very vested interest in, medicine and translational medicine and bioengineering. So that's why I ended up doing the PhD that I'm currently doing. But one of the things I'd like to start with, because I don't think it's intuitive, is what actually is chemical engineering. I think with mechanical engineering, civil engineering, electrical engineering, from either pop culture references or from your intuition, you can figure out what it is that they do. With civil engineering, you think of infrastructure and bridges. With electrical engineering, you think of technology. But the simplest definition that I could find for chemical engineering was the engineering discipline that deals with the conversion of raw materials to useful products. So if we take a step back from chemical and biochemical engineering and actually consider what it's like to be a chemist or a biochemist in a pharmaceutical industry, you may be working in a very, very large multidisciplinary team to discover a new drug for a new therapy to treat a particular disease. And what you will end up doing is using these kind of lab scale studies, you will create or you will craft a recipe, the sequence of reactions that you have to take in order to get from your raw material to your end product. The problem with that is that you only usually get a gram or two, a very, very small amount. So in order to get to a point where you can actually get this product onto the market where people can actually use it and it can actually have a positive effect, you scale it up. So that concept of going from these lab scale bench studies all the way to industry, or in effect translating each of these individual reaction steps into unit operations like reactors, like distillation columns, to make this particular product in very, very large quantities is core to what it is to be a chemical engineer. So just give kind of a very, very brief overview of the modules that form part of this course. So like most engineering modules, you have mathematics. You have a basic grounding in the natural sciences, so physics, chemistry, biology. You do have additional, more specialized modules in chemistry, and also in what we call process engineering. So those are reaction engineering, fluid mechanics, the modules that are specific to chemical engineering. None of these images are stock images, so these are all taken from reports or assignments or projects that I worked on over the course of my undergraduate. The one here in the bottom left is a mathematical model that we applied to optimize temperature in a particular reactor. At the top, you have CFD, computational fluid dynamics, which is used to model flow inside reactors. And then the bottom right These are crystals that I grew as part of my final year research project. Which brings me to two unique features of LM115 is that we actually have two capstone projects. So the first, which is covered in the first semester, is to do with research. So I did mine on the synthesis and characterization of multi-component drug-drug co-crystals. Essentially, I was finding a way to get two different drug molecules into the same crystalline phase, potentially as a use for combination there. And from that, I got really, really good hands-on experience in research, which is one avenue you can take after graduation, is to go into academia and go towards PhD. The more industry relevant capstone project is your final year design project, and you're given something that is very, very relevant in industry, and it does set you apart on your CV, is you are given a product and you have to design a plan to make a large quantity of that product from start to finish. And just a warning, this is what my plant looked like at the end of my 4 years. The bark is worse than the bite. There are just a lot of pumps, but this is something that I'm very, very proud of because it's a culmination of what I was able to learn and apply over those 4 years of my undergraduate degree. So one thing to say is that I wasn't set on chemical engineering from the get-go. My first choice was actually theoretical physics. I think I watched a little bit too much Big Bang Theory. But when I was in sixth year, there was a lot of stories in the news about chemical engineering, but specifically the pharmaceutical industry and all the big discoveries that were being made about new medicines and new molecules. So that's kind of what made me start looking for courses like this. So it was that combination of application, but then looking at the curriculum and seeing modules in physics and chemistry and engineering mathematics, which were the subjects that I most enjoyed in secondary school. That's why I decided to go with this course. So just a very, very quick overview of what I'm doing now. I mentioned biological engineering. So that's the application of engineering principles to solving problems that are at the interface of medicine and biology. So that has to do with genetic engineering, it has to do with protein engineering, synthetic biology, biomedicine. And what you find is that bioengineering is very, very rooted in chemical engineering. 90% of the people who are at bioengineering conferences are themselves chemical engineers. But this is an emerging field, and as you've probably heard from the news with the mRNA vaccines, this is a very, very new area that's going to be of growing importance in years. And just to finish up, if I've bored you all to tears, this is the one point that I kind of want you to take away, is that you are not bound by the title of your degree. I know a lot of people have this worry that they're going to make the wrong choice and they're going to go into the wrong course and they're going to be tied into that course for 4 years. But the skill set that you develop over the course of an engineering degree is broadly transferable. So I know people who have finished this course and they've gone into places like Pfizer, they've gone into places like Regeneron. I know people who have kind of leaned more into the teamwork and communication skills they develop with the design project to go into consultancy, to go into management. And I know some people who have gone into other engineering fields, people who have shifted to electrical engineering, who have gone to mechanical engineering, because you're still using the same mathematics, you're still using the scientific basis, you're just applying it in a different way. That's it for me. Thank you all for listening.
So our last speaker, I think, is Aoife O'Doherty. So last but not least, so Aoife is working for the Confirm Centre as a research assistant and is going to talk about electronic and computer engineering.
Hi, I'm Aoife. I'm going to talk about why you should choose electronic computer engineering. Okay, so a bit about myself. I'm Aoife O'Doherty. I studied electronic computer engineering and I graduated in 2022, so just August is gone. I'm currently working as a research assistant and a Unity developer in the Confirm Research Centre in UL. And I'm also a Swiftie, that'll make sense later. So why did I pick UL? I heard that UL was like highly recognized for engineering courses, and I knew I wanted to do something in engineering. I didn't know what, but I had EC in mind, but I still wasn't 100% sure. And I heard about the good co-op placement and the fact that you get paid during co-op when you're in engineering, which is good. And also it was close to home because I'm from Ennis, so it was pretty convenient. Also my mom wouldn't let me go anywhere else. So, the course requirements for EC points is 444 points. It's gone down by 1 point this year, so that's good. And then you get a H4 in maths, as a minimum, but if you don't get that, you can do like an entrance exam specifically for maths. I think you can still get in if you do ordinary maths, you do well in the entrance exam, but don't quote me on that. And then a science. So I think the sciences are kind of broadened since I started in UL. So a science could be like, it's not just math, it's not just physics, chemistry, biology, like tech, graph, construction. I think there's engineering and stuff. Yeah, there's lots of sciences now. So it doesn't have to be like very like rigid to physics, chemistry, and biology. And then I put the final one in as like, this is pretty important to have an interest in the area. Like if you don't really like computery stuff and electronics, probably not going to like this course. So what the course covers, I just kind of put a brief overview of what you'd be doing in first year. So there's like a few software modules, some circuit design modules that would be like working with breadboards. I don't know if you guys know what breadboards are, but like working with electrical and electronic components like transistors, resistors, that kind of stuff. Engineering maths, so you'd be doing the same maths as all the other engineering courses. The first semester is general between all the engineering courses. So you kind of do the same maths they're doing, and it mightn't be relative to your course, but it's good to have. And then there's a tiny bit of chemistry in first year. I didn't do chemistry in school, so I actually didn't find it that hard. It's actually grand if you don't have chemistry. Like, so it's like leaving cert chemistry, I'm pretty sure. Probably easier than leaving cert chemistry actually, because I could do it. So, and then there's like major options once you're in the actual course. So after first semester of first year, we split off into just ECE, so not mixed in with other courses, except for maths. And then in, I think it's second year, you decide, what is third year? I think it's second year. You decide what major you want to do. So you can do computer engineering, electronic engineering, electrical engineering, or the general option. So I did the general option because I didn't really know what I wanted to do specifically. And I also didn't want to like pigeonhole myself into one particular type of engineering and then not be as employable at the end of it. But I don't think it makes that much of a difference. Like everyone gets the same degree in the end. It just says electronic and computer engineering. It doesn't say like electronic computer engineering with the major in whatever area. And just to know with electronic and electrical engineering, there is a key difference. So I think what our lecturers used to tell us is electronics is like the stuff that goes into the socket, like the kind of devices you'd be using, laptops, phones, that kind of thing. And electrical engineering refers to the stuff that's in the walls, like the wiring, the electrics, that kind of thing. So two different things, but definitely related to each other. So I think the general option for me was the best option because you get to get a taste of everything. I kind of preferred computer engineering because we did a lot of software engineering, a lot of coding and that kind of thing. And that's kind of what I was mostly interested in, but I also found the hardware stuff cool, so I did general. So why did I choose ECE? So I had an interest in coding before coming into college. I was in Coder Dojo from when I was 16, and like just coding in my spare time wasn't that good, but like it was good to like kind of have an idea of it before I went in. Also money, big one. So there's lots of jobs and big paying jobs in the tech industry. So kind of chasing the dollars, I guess. And I wanted to work in the San Francisco Bay Area eventually. In San Francisco last summer. Yeah, there's lots of tech jobs in that area. It's actually like really bad time at the moment because people are getting laid off. But hopefully it'll be fine by the time you guys finish college. And also there's lots of scholarship opportunities in UC. So scholarships. I got 3 scholarships while I was in college. I got the Intel one in first year, and that was based off my leaving cert. That particular scholarship is for everyone, like boys and girls can apply for it. And I think it's less now, but when I did it, you get $3,000 for getting it, and as long as you keep your grades up, you get $3,000 each year. And also you get offered a 9-month placement for your co-op with Intel. I think you kind of have to do it to keep the scholarship. I'm pretty sure. Like I think it might pay you the next year if you don't do the co-op. And then the Johnson & Johnson scholarship, that was specifically for women in STEM. So I think that was $2,000, just once off. I had to write like an essay or something, and then got free money basically. The Intel one is pretty easy to get as well, as long as you just, because they don't expect you to know that much in first year, because you just have to leaving cert, so you just have to be like, I love coding, and that's it, they give it to you. Yeah, so as long as you do well in the leaving cert, there's like lots of scholarships and bursaries available to you. My friend Kira, the shorter one in the first picture, she got a bursary in first year for just getting the highest leaving cert points out of the course. And she didn't apply for that, you just get that automatically, like they'll know who had the highest in your class. I think that was like $1,000 or something she got for that, so just do really well in your leaving cert and you get paid. So my co-op, as I said before, I got the Intel scholarship, so I had to do my co-op in Intel. I started in May 2020, which is a really bad time because COVID just happened, so they just like sent everyone home, and it was like the first time they'd ever done like virtual internships. So it was kind of tough. I was on a software architecture team. Didn't really do much software architecturing. Mostly Excel that I was working with. I wrote some scripts to like get data out of different servers and put it into an Excel spreadsheet. But yeah, it was a lot of Excel work. But I saved a lot of money because there was no commute. So that was a good thing. And they offered me a job after my co-op, as long as I like graduated. And I was like, oh, I'll think about it, but I wasn't really too sure because I didn't have that great a time in co-op. But again, that was kind of down to it being virtual. And then for my final year project, I did a VR project. So the prompt was virtual reality for social science experiments. So I didn't really know what to do with that. I've never done anything with virtual reality. We don't do anything specifically with virtual reality in my course. But then my friend suggested I make a game. So I made a VR game on Unity. It's a games development platform. And I had literally no experience. So I had to just like teach myself how to use Unity and how to make games. There's lots of tutorials online, like YouTube is my best friend during that time. So I just like taught myself how to do games. And then this is this is like a little snippet of the game. So I made like a VR version of the trolley problem. So you're given like two options, like one option is to kill through them and one option is to kill through men. Horrible, obviously. But yeah, so like you have to, it's supposed to see how different people react if they were doing a VR version of the trolley problem rather than just like talking about it theoretically. So yeah, and then when I was doing that project, at the end of it, you have to like present it to like a panel, and they judge your project and ask all the questions and stuff. And one of the guys that was judging it happened to need a Unity developer to make a VR version of his building. He's the guy in the bunny hat at the back. So yeah, I got hired as a research assistant and Unity developer with the Confirmed Smart Manufacturing crowd. So they work as a research centre in UL. It's just outside UL where the Travel Lodge is. And I made a VR version of their building. I also met some friends. As you can see, don't always dress like that. Yeah, so this is like, I don't know if anyone's ever seen the Confirmed building, but this is my version of it. So I built this in Unity and like added in like chairs and stuff. And yeah, this was supposed to be way quicker, but oh, sorry. Let's just like walk through it. Yeah, but I worked on this for the last couple of months and still not 100% finished. I'm adding stuff to it. So I'll add the roof and like lights and stuff. But I entered this project into a VR competition in France, the Laval Virtual project. And basically, I think I'll find out next week if I go into the final, but they look for projects like this that like are using VR in industry and manufacturing, that kind of thing, and like showcase it at like a conference in France. So it's really fun. But that's the thing. So other projects I've been working on, I'm currently trying to get a job for my J1. I'm going on a J1 in San Francisco starting in August. Trying to get a job in like VR and games development in that area. And last week I met the following project for an interview. So I don't know if you guys know Taylor Swift that much, but this is a house from one of her music videos, and each room in the house represents a different era and different album that she's made. So I recreated it in Unity. There's no sound. You just kind of sort of imagine that like Taylor Swift music's playing. I don't know why the sound's not working. But yeah, I built this last Thursday night. I had a meeting at like 7, and they were like, "Oh, we should think about what project you should do." And I had this idea, and I was like, "Okay, I have to do it right now." So I was up to like 5 a.m. making this. But yeah, I still have to like kind of yassify it, make it look nicer. But yeah, it's just, like stuff like this is kind of like fun. I can just like make a house now. And like at the start of my uni development story, is that the word? I don't know. Journey, that's the word. Sorry, my uni journey, this would have taken me like weeks to do, so it was kind of nice that I could do it in a couple of hours. So some final comments. I highly recommend this course. Like when you leave, everyone that I graduated with all have jobs. You'll be really employable. Most of them are working in industry. So my friend Kira from a couple of slides ago, she's working in Intel. And I have some friends that are over in America working for companies over there. Lots of lads working in analog. It's a big one. I think Intel and Analog are the biggest companies that kind of take EC graduates. But yeah, everyone's doing well basically. Probably better than me. But yeah, like I'm going to, from this research job, I'm going to be working in like hopefully in the same like VR development area. See where it goes. And then also there's lots of support in the department. As was said earlier, there's like the Maths Learning Centre and Science Learning Centre. So I think in first year and second year, the only years that you do maths in this course, and the rest of the time it's when you're mixing with other courses, but the rest of the time you don't have any maths. So that was nice. But if you do struggle with maths, like Maths Learning Centre is a godsend. And then it's not many girls here, but don't be scared. I would say don't be scared to be in a male-dominated course. That's me at the end with all the lads that graduated with. There was another girl that graduated, but she was on holiday on that day. And the other girls that were in my course did a master's. So, like, yeah, I definitely would say just like don't let like that put you off. Because when I was thinking about going into this course, everyone was telling me like, oh, there's loads of lads, and I don't know, I didn't really care that much. And also because there's so few girls, like the girls that are in it, you become like besties with them, so that's nice. And also like all these lads here, like I'm still friends with, so it's not too bad. Yeah, I'm going to skip that because I didn't really want to. Thanks for listening. Okay.
Okay, so I'm just gonna finish up here. So this. So just to say thanks to our graduates, thanks for coming out, everybody else, and we are happy to answer any questions that you might have now at this stage, or if I know it's kind of getting late, so we do have some of the course directors around. If you want to ask the course director or ask any of the graduates any questions, I guess they'll hang around for a couple of minutes. So we do have, I'll pull up the intro slides there again. Sorry, yeah, oh yeah, they're not there, so. Just in terms of just some other information on in terms of some other information, so we do have, so I've mentioned tonight about maths, like we do recognize that maths can be an issue. So there is a special maths exam for those that, I guess, it's, I guess, maybe at the engineering courses specifically where you do have that requirement for the H4 in honours maths. So if you do get the points, maybe didn't get the H4 in honours maths, there's an opportunity to sit special maths exam, which is run by UL. And if you get the equivalent of the H4 in that and have the points, you will be offered a place on the course. So it's just something that's been running for a couple of years. It normally takes place around, well, shortly after the Leaving Cert results are given out. So we used to say it was always taking place in late August, but with the way the Leaving Cert results have been released now, could be September that they're out. So usually the week after the results come out. There is another career evening like this on our common engineering entry. So we have this CAO code LM116, which covers civil engineering, design and manufacturing engineering, biomedical engineering, and mechanical engineering. So there will be another equivalent evening like this. And with that, just thank you for coming out. And if you have any questions, just feel free to ask either myself or any of the other course directors or any of the graduates. Okay, so thank you.
Thank you.